Welcome to Moscow, the capital of Russia, and for the 2012 Silk Way Rally, the fourth chapter of this successful rally raid adventure. Over the next 6 days, 84 cars and 24 trucks will try and conquer sand and mountain as we take in 4,000 kilometers of Russian countryside. Sportingly, we increased the length of the selective stages and decreased the length of the road sections, which of course is better for the assistance vehicles. But besides that, the competitive stages will be far more difficult than past years. More length, more difficulty and more sand. Pierre Lartigue, who did the recce's, told me that the drivers will have a lot of pleasure at the wheel. But also, if we double the length of this, we could have a race as hard as the Dakar. The route begins from Moscow with a small liaison to Ryazan before heading to familiar bivouacs in Volgograd, in Elista and in Maykop. We finish at the Black Sea after 6 days of competition. In the cars, the favourite comes from a new home of off-road. Argentine Lucio Alvarez has the same overdrive Toyota he took to 5th in the Dakar. This will be his first rally in Europe. The itinerary includes lots of dunes, 50 or 40%, and that's really good for us because on the dunes we go very well. We know that we are among the favourites, but the level of this competition is very good, so we'll try to keep a good pace, but we know the navigation will be very hard as well. Alvarez's main opposition is likely to come from the G-Force team. Experienced in Silk Way and based in Russia, Boris Gadazin leads the team. Matthias Kahler has built a new Mercedes with 4-wheel drive as he bids for the top of the podium here in Russia. Christian Lavier heads up an entourage of Desudra run machines. The car may look like a Mitsubishi, but it's powered by Nissan and known as the Desudra 11. It's his new machine. Better known in WRC, Tony Gardemeister comes here as a rookie to Rally Raid. The experienced RE Auto Club's Mitsubishi will be his steed, but the Flying Finn is being cautious about his results. Two-wheel drive class should be just as exciting as the four-wheel drive machines, with the giants of off-road going head-to-head. 2012 World Cup winner Jean-Louis Slesher and Russian co-driver will bid to be the best against the Philippe Gach's SMG team. And that is led by Ronan Chabot, who took the two-wheel class victory on the Dakar. His buggy is powered by a 2013 compliant engine. We know each other very well because we've driven a long time against each other. So we can see how the progress in the driving skills mirrors the improvement in the cars. And I think it'll be a very good and tight fight between us here on the Silk Way. Leading lady racer Isabelle Patissier is also in an all-new two-wheel drive buggy. 250 kilos and powered by a 1-litre Honda bike, can this little machine fight with the big boys? Thierry Magnaldi's modified his Dakar buddy to look like a Nissan Juke. And it's another exciting development for Desudra. In the trucks, as per usual, it's Russia against Holland. The Kamaz team has an obvious goal, to win. And for that, they hope Kazakh Artur Ardavicius can lead their team. But Eduardo Nikolaev knows all about winning the Silk Way back in 2010. Actually, there are 7 Kamaz master trucks, with the promising Irat Mardiev hoping to be part of the best. Remember, no major win for Kamaz since Dakar 2011. In the other corner is the MAN team with a new recruit, the winner of the 2011 Silk Way, Alice Lopez, back to defend his title.
Now the time has changed and I'm a part of Instafrat Veka Aerial team, so I'm always saying that it's like a bus, yeah, really comfort, but it's since it's born, it's really a WRC, but 10 tons of weight. Really fast track, and I have to settle down in the first stages to the track, but from my point of view, it's really interesting concept.
With Lopez and Verschluis, Franz Escher is hoping MAN have the strength in numbers to really mount a challenge to the Russians. After days of preparation and hours of speculation, the Silkway Rally is nearly underway, under the watchful eye of the Kremlin. But before the competitors mount the starting platform, it's time for the best show in town to celebrate this remarkable event. And then, with the vehicles on the start, the 2012 Silkway Rally is underway, in front of an enthusiastic crowd. Their admiration echoing around the Red Square to send teams off on a short liaison to Ryazan before the real action starts early on Sunday morning. The destination is the famous Volgograd. Known for its resistance in World War II and the site of the Battle of Stalingrad, this whole city was left in rubble after the war. The huge statue of Mother Russia dominates the skyline. Built on the Mayev Kurgan, a Tatar burial ground, it became a stronghold for the Russians and was almost flattened during the fighting. It's now a memorial to commemorate the city. Renamed in 1961, it's still an important industrial mainstay. Competitors started the day in Ryazan faced with a 258-kilometre special stage and over 600 kilometres of liaison. This will be the longest day of the rally, with many mixed landscapes. And so to the start, and the atmosphere was really building for the cars to get underway. And then it began. Just after 1 p.m. local time, the Silkway Rally was underway. If Alvarez is the favourite of the rally, then Christian Lavier is as well. The experienced Frenchman said he would attack from the beginning, and that's exactly what he did. Fastest by over a minute in CP1, but he came unstuck over the next 100 kilometres with oil pressure problems and lost half an hour by the end of the day. Renaud Chabot and his prototype SMG was another to falter early on. The two-wheel drive specialist lost 13 minutes with electrical problems, the first of many issues for the Frenchman. In his first 2 tries on the Silkway Rally, Miroslav Zapatel never saw the finish, so the Czech began carefully and clocked the 13th best time. The G-Force cars made a strong start on this first stage as Russian Volokolov ended up 9th, and he wasn't alone to perform for the team. Ukrainian Bogdan Novitsky ended up in 5th. Inside the top 8 and the debut for the Duke went well for Magnaldi. He finished just 19 seconds ahead of Volokov as the first stage ended. On his first run in rally raid conditions, 6th was a great effort for the WRC star Tony Gardemeister. The logistics of this kind of race, of course, are quite different to what he's used to. For Matthias Kahler, he was taking it cautiously for his first serious run in his new Mercedes, but it seemed to run faultlessly to the end, even leading at one point and eventually finishing in 4th. Favourite coming into the rally, Lucio Alvarez had a difficult first task of opening the stage with no tracks to follow. Just belief in his co-driver Bernard Grau. And at the kilometre 113, his pace came to nothing as he missed a 90-degree turn and went completely the wrong way. It only cost him 5 minutes, but that was enough to demote him to 3rd, behind Jean-Louis Slesser. Initially, he didn't look that comfortable and was soon caught by fast-starting Gadazin on the road, but he never gave up and actually pulled a gap to him by the end. Schlesser was 2nd by just 11 seconds, behind Boris Gadazin, who eventually managed to take victory, and of course the lead of the overall. Even better, the G-Force team placed 3 cars within the top 10, almost a surprise. We hadn't really planned to attack the Silkway Rally, just drive really fast. Today was the first stage and we didn't really tack at all, so the clock, the best time, is really rather surprising. With this kind of high level, it's nice, and it's a pleasure to finish first. In the truck race, first disappointment was for the big favourite Artur Ardavicius. Starting 8th on the track, he clocked the 2nd best time in CP1, but after that his truck betrayed him and by CP2 he was an hour down. Another favourite to fall down on this first stage was the German Franz Eschter. He stopped just after CP1 with gearbox problems, and it was game over for the man. Second on the track, Russian KAMAZ driver Irat Mardiev clocked the third best time as the trucks rolled to the finish to close the day. He would be beaten by two former champions. Winner in 2011 meant Alex Lopez was first on the road, but behind the cars, of course. After only a small test, this was his first real drive in the MAN truck in racing conditions, and he ran faster than ever, clocking the second best time, 5 minutes behind this man, the winner, 2010 champion Eduardo Nikolaev. He attacked with some vigour this first stage and is now really established as a leader of the KAMAZ team as they look to replace Vladimir Chagin. With the first day of dunes came the first difficulties. Navigation was complicated in these sporadic dunes, and holding your concentration to keep a good line was extremely important. But of course, the sand was softer than expected, and many would have to get the shovel out to free themselves. Day 2, and while the bivouac stayed in Volgograd, the rally headed north before taking to a 309-kilometre special in the dunes of the original Silk Way Road. Jean-Louis Schlesser's debut on the Silk Way Rally had gone well, but day 2 wasn't so kind, and he damaged the car in the sand. The floors come loose in the dunes, I think. Having attempted to remove it and failed, the Frenchman set off again, without knowing his tampering would be his downfall. Just 20 kilometres later, he crashed and hurt his hand. It seemed the floor had got stuck under the wheel. Back at the bivouac, he told us exactly what happened. We had a problem with the flat floor under the car, and we decided to try and stop and get rid of it. But unfortunately, we failed to loosen one of the screws, and we decided to restart, hoping that maybe the floor would break off by itself. Unfortunately, when it did break up, it ended up under one of the wheels. And it sort of made a wedge and pushed the car into the air, and we did a massive roll. Incredible. Boris Gadazin is Mr. Baja in Russian off-road, but day 1 he was Mr. Rally Raid. The differences between the two being navigation, and that was his downfall on day 2, along with a fuel pump problem that dropped him half an hour down. No such issues for Finn Tony Gardemeister. He did lose some time in navigation to end the day 7th. However, his consistency over the 2 days put him 3rd overall. In the second overdrive Toyota, Jérôme Pélissier was inside the top 5 all day. Running with Gadazin for the remainder of the stage, he finished in a good time for 5th position. Ronan Chabot's problems on day 1 inspired an attack in the early part of day 2, going fastest in the first checkpoint, but his pace slipped by the end to finish up 4th position, 8 minutes back. Like on day 1, Lucio Alvarez found himself out front, leading the way with no tracks to follow. It meant more navigational issues, but it was a common theme. 3rd was a strong result. It was a difficult special stage with really difficult navigation. We did make a few little errors. Someone showed us the wrong way and we lost about 8 kilometres, plus 8 kilometres coming back, so 16 in total. Anyway, we started in front for the first 2 days, and that was really not easy, especially because of the navigation. It was so complicated. So actually, we're quite happy. Christian Lavier is one of the old masters of the discipline, but never tends to have much luck. It means he's used to fighting back, and that's exactly what he did today. He smashed the opposition by 5 minutes to take the win. I made a little mistake in the sand, and then we had a little navigational error. But all in all, a pretty good day. Quite long and not simple, with lots of navigation and many direction changes. And of course, Pascal there did a great job. It was hours later than the last big surprise of the day arrived to the finishing line. Vladimir Vladziev was second. Today we started about 90th position, I think 97th in fact, but it meant we had to overtake many cars. I think we passed about 50 machines. We didn't have any problems, unlike yesterday, but the trucks didn't let us go, and actually some of the cars didn't either. I followed this one for a long time, and he didn't let me pass at all, so we definitely lost time trying to overtake him.
Вообще не пропускал никак, поэтому много еще времени потратили на обгонах, конечно.
Ex-Russian kart champion Anton Shibalov is a strong prospect for KAMAZ's competitive future. 7th on his debut here 2 years ago, he was much happier in his new KAMAZ machine, ending this day in 5th. Just a minute ahead of him was Weckerman team owner Peter Veslus. The genial Dutchman had his army weakened by the retirement of Ekter in the first day, meaning he has to up his game in support of his teammate. Today he was 4th. The fight at the front of the trucks has been fierce. Lopez took the early lead at CP1 by 3 minutes, and he stretched it to 4 by CP2. But as the trucks rumbled over the finishing line, Lopez had lost 10 minutes down to navigational errors. With that loss, it was down to KAMAZ to pick up the pieces. After a strong victory yesterday, Nikolaev looked to be the slowest of the 3 top drivers, and indeed by the end of the stage he finished 3 minutes behind his teammate. So the winner of the day was Airat Mardiev, cementing a strong performance for the KAMAZ Masters. His victory margin has closed the gap at the front of the overall to just 3 minutes. This may be just a test for the Dakar, but they don't want a repeat of 2011 when KAMAZ was beaten. Yesterday was very good and an interesting test. We did a good stable job, and today we made some small navigational errors, but we didn't lose that much time, and so we've won. I guess you could say everything was perfect. As expected, the first sight of the dunes provided their major difficulties for many of the competitors. The sand was very soft. Some would be lucky and get out, and others would have to stop. For some, the return to the bivouac was swift, but for others, shoveling was the only way out, building sandcastles in the savannah. By the end of leg 2, more than 15% of the competitors would not take the start. For KAMAZ, it was a relatively straightforward day. The drivers brought the blue machines home for the mechanics to clean, to service and prepare for yet another day. With no real damage, the engineers and mechanics and team could enjoy a beautiful Volgograd sunset. Most of the cars, however, had fared a lot worse, and the real Rally Raids heroes would be hard working long into the night. But on the organisational side of things, the work continued. It's a 24-hour job with 3 huge Antonovs transporting all the equipment to and from each stage end.
Charlie 3, Charlie 3, Papa Charlie, Charlie 3.
A GPS system tracks every single competitor and member of the rally, while results are constantly updated as each person arrives in the bivouac. The VIPs have a celebration as well on the Silkway Rally. And the end of leg 2 provided a chance to get together and swig some finest Russian vodka. The objective of leg 3. This is where competitors will hope to end up. Elista. It's known as the Chess City, a popular pastime in Russia. Elista held the 33rd Chess Olympics. It's also home to the highest Buddhist statue in Europe. The statue and its temple were completed in 2005 after being commissioned by the 14th Dalai Lama. And it now receives worldwide recognition. So leg 3 represented the middle of the rally as competitors headed to Elista in a planned 487-kilometre special stage. Heavy rain had been the subject of much news in Russia over the week, and on this day it fell on the Silkway Rally route. And it meant each stage would be shortened to the end. The biggest shock of leg 3 came with the departure of Tony Gardemeister. A crash after just 38 kilometres destroyed his Mitsubishi, and the Finn was taken to the local hospital, complaining of back issues. It was transmission problems that halted Ronan Chabot's SMG buggy within 100 kilometres of the start. The combination of an old chassis with a new 2013 engine seemed to be working, but this was a known part failing. Another two-wheel drive buggy that suffered issues was a small Honda of Isabelle Petissier. She was forced to give up after drowning this little machine in a river. The leader of the rally coming into the day, Lucian Alvarez, also found himself with problems, eventually stationary in the sand. It was power steering problems that had made his car impossible to drive in the dunes. He tried to fix it, failed, and lost an hour. His teammate Pélissier was also struggling. He got stuck in the sand twice and dropped 20 minutes to Lavier. However, such was the difficulty of this stage, he actually stayed second in the overall standings. Czech driver Miroslav Zapatel had a consistent day, finishing in 6th, but with the others' demise, he's actually moved up to 4th in the overall standings, just behind Pélissier and Gadazin. It's tight though, with Carlo also within 30 seconds of 3rd spot. The G4 star of the day was once again Russian Vladimir Vlasiev. This time he started at the front and was slow through CP1, but he was impressive in the final few kilometres of the stage to take 2nd of the day. And in the 2nd day running, it was Frenchman Christian Lavier who won the stage, directly ahead of rivals who really had no chance of victory overall. Showing his experience, the 46-year-old now has a lead of 10 minutes and was awarded a traditional Kalmyki hat for his troubles. The navigation really wasn't easy, especially when you have to open the stage. From the rain, you couldn't even see the tracks of the opener. It wasn't so much of an issue in the sand as we followed the compass, but to avoid the farms and get a good line, that was very hard, and my navigator was very sharp. So I'm very happy, but we are only halfway through this rally, so we'll have to wait and see. Very well placed in the overall ranking, the 166 Toyota made a fantastic start to the race. It was a nice surprise for the navigator of the crew, Xavier Panseri, who is normally the co-driver of Brian Bouffier in IRC. This is a whole new world for him to discover.
Et Jérôme
Jerome is a very good instructor for me in the car because he gives a lot of good information to me. It's a chance for me to learn with an experienced racer who teaches me the practice of this new discipline. Because actually, I'm actually a baby to this sort of rally raid.
Novice complet dans la discipline.
Je suis décalé maintenant. On a un cap moyen de 300 hein, normalement, donc on y est dessus.
In traditional rallies, we only have technical instruments with technical information, like the data of the car, oil pressure and speed and that sort of thing. Here, the instrumentation is much more complete, with 2 trip masters and 2 GPSs given to us by the organisation of the race. And for me, the use of this and all these instruments is completely new. Of course, the habit of traditional rallies does help me with the logistics of this kind of race. But on the terrain in the car, I've everything to discover. SAN reading, road books preparation, I don't know anything of that. But of course I have Eugene Decray, the former co-driver during Pélissier, who's a really big help for me to learn how to prepare road books, for example. It's written Danger 2 with 2+. What does that mean? It's Danger 3 or Danger 2? It's not a 3 because it means 3 means 3 and that you should pass with really, really slow pace. So it's Danger 2, but that should pass with a slow pace. Oh, okay, because there's no particular notes to signify dangers between 2 and 3. I understand now. It's totally different. In a traditional rally, we know metre by metre, turn by turn, at which pace we should pass. Here, we discover all the time the tracks we have to face. It's interesting, but a little bit frustrating too, because in a traditional rally, I know that we can be really fast in some tracks. Here, we can't because we don't know what's around the next turn. And afterwards, I have to say in my head, oh, that's a shame, because I think we could have gone faster through there.
On reste sur la piste principale de toute façon. Faut que je trouve un point pour me recaler. À gauche. Ouais, ok, c'est bon.
A big lesson then for Panseri, who hopes to learn until the finish line. In the truck category, Peter Versluis was fast into CP2, grabbing second ahead of his teammate Lopez. But come the end of the special, he lost 26 minutes to the winner. In the Kamaz battle, both Sotnikov and Shibalov got involved in the battle for the lead. But at the end of the stage, it was once again the cream that rose to the top. Irat Mardiev taking third, but dropping 13.5 minutes behind his teammate. The Czech driver Lopez was reporting real joy driving his new MAN. He had struggled over the years with an uncomfortable Tatra, and this was really good fun. But he's still not 100% at speed, and today he can't fight with this man, Eduardo Nikolaev, once again the winner of the stage. Having taken victory on stage 1, he won by 5.5 minutes to extend his lead at the overall. By 13, he'll need concentration to win at the end. Weather conditions? No, we're not afraid of that. We train all weather in all weather conditions, snow, rain, and perhaps it helped us a little bit. Even today, we were not scared at all. We were driving at full pace and had a really good race. This stage was interesting in navigation, but also to discover the Kalmakiki landscape was really interesting for us. As we moved to Elista, the off-road stars attracted more attention. Anatoly Kazachkov, the President of Parliament for Kalmyki, came to show his admiration for the rally, as was entertained by the local folk groups providing snacks and dancing to all. Fighting was an extremely important part of the Kalmyki tribes. Tall men were selected to protect the southern borders of Russia from the Turkic-speaking neighbours, and their practices are now just of history. Later that evening, however, race director Semen Yakubov had to deliver some bad news to the competitors. Taking into account the natural disaster which took place in Gelendzhik, all the forces are concentrated on helping those victims, and we would like to express our condolences to the inhabitants of the Krasnodar region, which suffered so badly in this situation, worse than many others. Due to this reason, we have taken the decision to finish the rally in the bivouac in Maykop on the 12th of July, cancelling one day of the stage. As Christian Lavier explains, there's more important things happening in the world than just the Silkway Rally. The flooding was a disaster. It is a pity to lose one day of racing, but we must think about the local population who have lost everything. Our actions are simply a mark of respect. We cannot have a race where people have lost lives. The whole of Russia, police and military, are working simply to save the population, so naturally this is a good decision from the organisation. There will be no celebrations in Maykop for the end of the Silkway Rally, as all Russian participants think of their compatriots, and the organisation have set up a fund to donate money to the victims. Sympathisers weren't limited to Russians, however. The Dutch MAN team started a huge donation of solidarity. It's possible only to say good words about this. In Gelendzhik, it was a real disaster, and they needed some help, a real reality. And I'm impressed with the MAN team that made such a gesture. Of course, it was announced before that KAMAZ will also make a large contribution.
Вот, ну и как было объявлено, команда КамАЗ Мастер тоже сделает. Как говорится, внесет свой вклад.
With these changes, it means the rally will be fought over just 5 legs, and drivers will now have to really think about pushing to the finishing line. The biggest enemy for competitors on the rally, and organisers as well, just seem to be the elements. The start of leg 4, a massive thunderstorm flooded the bivouac and the route overnight. And it meant the planned stage was again modified. It would end after 392 kilometres at CP2 to avoid the worst mud. Development of the new Nissan Juke has been tricky for Thierry Magnaldi, especially when he does things like this. The poor Dasudra machine stuck in the sand. I'm sure that no one will help us, but we shouldn't despair. You've got to wait for someone nice to help? Yeah, exactly. But there's not a lot of people who we know very well on this. Our car is stuck. We really need to wait for a truck because it won't be, a car will certainly not be powerful to pull us out of this. The Dassault team have put much effort into developing this new Nissan Juke. The bodywork is totally bespoke for this particular machine, and Magnaldi had ruined it in the sand. Eventually, the 114 crew decided to liberate some of the front end. Perhaps that would free it up. And eventually, teammate Frederic Chavanny arrived to pull them out. Magnaldi could restart. But he'd lost much time. It's been a very strong rally for Balázs Szalay. The Hungarian has been constantly in the top 10, which means his aging Opel now carries him safely into 6th overall. He's not the fastest in the rally, but the Hungarian champion knows first you have to finish. It's even better for the Czech off-road star Mirek Zapatel, who previously is a Baja World Cup winner. He is higher in the standings than Saleh and has a real fight on his hands. Today was beaten by his rival in the standings, Matthias Kahler, by just 13 seconds. That triumph for Zapatel means German Matthias Kahler is now just a single second from 4th overall after well over half the rally. It's so close. We really didn't expect such a good result. The car was brand new, the engine was brand new, and the main thing for us was to test this car and test all the parts to see if it'll finish. But it's very tight, so I might just push and try and get that 4th position. On the road today, Kahler had his hands full fighting with Frenchman Bernard Arandonea. Arandonea 3rd on stage 3 and 6th on this stage in his rear-wheel drive SMG buggy was particularly impressive given the really rather damp conditions. His focus through this particular stage was just finding the good way to go with Kahler. Jerome Pélichet now 2nd in the overall standings and again drove safely without issue in his overdrive run Toyota. It's his strategy and it seems to be working for him. We won't take too many risks. This car is brand new and it's my first rally with Xavier. Our goal was to finish in the top 5 and for the moment we're 2nd, which is very good. If we stay 2nd, that's even better. But if we drop to 3rd, I don't really mind. Russian Boris Gadazin will want to prevent a 1-2 for France, lying 3rd in the overall in his G-Force team. Boss took a minute out of Pélichet today. He only has 3 more to win back tomorrow and grab that runner-up spot. Christian Lavier's de Soudre leads the overall standings in a healthy way, but on this day he did lose 7 minutes on the stage with a drive shaft issue. Could this be the 2nd win in as many months for the de Soudre number 11? The thing about Lavier's time loss was it was to 2 men who are way back in the standings. Lucio Alvarez in his overdrive Toyota finished 2nd on this day. He was successful in Qatar earlier this year, but will need a miracle to fight for victory after his problems earlier on. The 2nd Russian to win the rally went to fast-charging Vladimir Vlasiev. Ever since recovering from his day 1 problems, the G-Force runner has been the standout star of the rally. He has no chance of winning, but the pride of winning in a stage was very clear. Are we first? Yes? Wow. We won. Well, yes, of course I'm very happy. Today we started very well. We had a lot of fast parts in the route, but of course there was some sand as well. Tomorrow we will try and win again. The biggest story in the trucks on leg 4 was the demise of one of the main Kamaz. In the morning, it looked as though Mardiev had taken the fight to his teammate Nikolaev, running faster than him. But then, at kilometre 325, his Kamaz stopped. We've had a truck failure 6 kilometres before the finish. Our onboard reducer gear broke, and that's why we lost 48 minutes to try and fix it. The problem brings the second MAN trucker, Peter Versluis, back into contention for third overall. His pace today was impressive as well, just 3 minutes off the best Kamaz. And as we go into the last stage, the Veka boss needs just 6 minutes to beat Mardiev. It was a tough week for Artur Ardavicius, having had gearbox and turbo issues after the first few days. Overall, he was way back, but fourth today shows he's still got that fighting spirit. In fact, he can play very fast assistance to Eduardo Nikolaev, who looks on course to win his second Silkway rally after a tough Dakar. His relaxed pace over stage 4 meant he lost 8 minutes and 45 seconds to Lopez, and will know all too well that this rally can still be lost on the final day. So for the first time in 2012, it was not a Kamaz on the top of the timesheets. Instead, Alex Lopez took his first win for MAN. It didn't look that promising over the first 3 hours, as Lopez lost nearly 10 minutes to Nikolaev. But his pace was astounding to the finish, and he ended the day 4 minutes ahead. But that was only half the story.
For me, it was one of the most difficult stages in my life. Even we won, I'm not so happy because I had a great fever. Then I started to get cold, and this was all the time for 4 hours like this. I was really thinking that I will stop the stage and even stop the race. So finally, it was a little bit better when I found that that we are passing Nikolaev on Kamaz team. So that gave me a little bit more power to finish the stage.
As the damp weather continued to trouble the area, once again, the last stage had to get modified. Instead, we began at CP1, with the total length of the day being reduced by 100 kilometres to 352. The last stage had everything. Hard passages, tricky navigation, and poor ground, and it caught pretty much everyone out. Winner of the stage 1 day before, Vasiliev was the first in and one of the first to suffer, ripping his rear wheel off his car. 2 stars of leg 4 also suffered. Jerome Pellichet's 4-wheel drive Toyota damaged its rear differential. And Bernard Arandonnet, who also had front wheels pointing in the wrong direction. Both would not finish. It was a stump at the side of the track, and we hit it and we destroyed the front end of our car. He's destroyed the back, and there's plenty of others over there who also did, so that's the end. With Pellichet out of contention, Matthias Kahler and his brand new Mercedes could have grabbed a podium, but they were reduced to one-wheel drive after just 20 kilometres, and he also fell out of contention. When there's bad luck about, Christian Lavier tends to take a full helping, and today was no different. We had the same problem 2 days ago. The cooling system's broken. We changed it, but then another broke, so the engine belt jumped off. We fixed that, and it broke again, so we changed it for a simple belt, and that broke as well. And now we don't have any more belts, and we can't do 200 kilometers like this. I guess that's racing. As we say, it's the harsh reality of mechanical sport. Forced to stop frequently to let the engine cool down, the Frenchman would not consolidate that lead. Pellichet out, Kahler out, Lavier out. Did anyone want to win the rally? Argentine Alvarez was flying in the Toyota, having avoided the worst mud and mechanical problems. Fastest in CP1 and in CP2, he looked to be the winner of the stage. But where would that place him in the overall standings? Mirek Zapatel was ahead in those standings at the start of the day, and it looked like he may take the win. But 7th on this stage meant he actually lost time to his rivals. For us, it was really not an easy day at all. We were behind Lopez when he got stuck at crossing a creek, so quite quickly we took the decision to look for another crossing. We went to the left, but we couldn't find any bridge, so when we did cross the creek, we also got stuck and lost about 20 minutes. With all our rivals for the podium overtaking us, it was very frustrating, and later on the stage, Other cars had so many problems that actually it's not been too bad for us. Alvarez was first to the finishing line. Had he taken victory? 19 minutes later, the Opel Antara of Balázs Saleh arrived, and the answer was no. The Hungarian had won the stage, beating the Argentine by 3 minutes. He'd also taken out enough time of Zapatel to vault him in the standings. Amazing, considering he had massive problems as well.
That's good.
I guess we got lost about 20 times. Sometimes small problems, other times really big. For example, Carla, who was behind us, came at us about 10 times head on. So I think this stage was obviously very difficult to navigate. And sometimes he came up hills we just simply couldn't get up. And that made it even more challenging. The third car to the finishing line would be Russian Boris Gadazin. Remarkable, considering he was stationed in the stage for 15 minutes with brake problems. He finished in the nick of time, and the winner of the opening stage was confirmed the winner of this rally by just 3.5 minutes. In reality, this race was really not easy at all. It was very interesting as we had many strong rivals. Lavie, Alvarez, Carl were all so close to us, competing in the stages, but it's been really pleasing to take this victory. And there, confirmation of Gadazin beating Saleh by 3.5 minutes, Zapatel third, then the big guys Alvarez, Lavie, Svenko in 6th. In the trucks, first on the road, Lopez knew that he had to attack for the win. But early in the part of the stage, he made a massive mistake and got stuck in a river, losing more than an hour. When he arrived at the end, he was frustrated.
It's a strange situation, but we didn't do nothing wrong. I was thinking that the first time that we took a wrong cross, but it was not true. It was exactly as was written at the road book. But we are safe here. But the standings, for sure, I'm not satisfied because we should won. It was really easy to win this stage, but we didn't make it because of that mud.
Coming into the day, the advantage was with Nikolaev, and having seen Lopez in trouble, there was no real need to push. But it all went wrong not long into the rally. He found him stuck massively in the mud, and the rest of the KAMAZ team soon had to arrive to tug him out. He lost hours and no chance of victory. Like in the cars, no one wanted to win this amazing final day, with both top two runners dropping 3 hours. It made well for a new man in the top 3. Anton Shibalov took his best result in International Rally Raid in 3rd position. Second overall, and on this stage as well, was Peter Versluis. He had brought Lopez into the team for Dakar 2013 to form a really strong army against both De Roy and KAMAZ. And this dress rehearsal was marginally successful. It's certainly the Dutchman's best result as well. I'm really happy. Everyone seemed to have problems. It was because it was so wet, and we were really driving on the edge all day. But finally, we've made it, and that's the most important thing. Whatever the result is, doesn't really matter to me. At least I've survived. And so, the least expected of results, the troubled Airat Mardiev, who suffered so much on day 4, wins the Silkway Rally for KAMAZ, ending the drought of international results. 2 stage victories over the week to match last year's efforts. He added one last twist to the fantastic final show, and amazingly finished the stage only on 3 wheels, sending cameramen flying. Have we won? Is it true? Wow. Well, of course I'm pleased, because we really didn't expect that, such a good result. At the start of the day, we had a very big gap to the leaders because of our problems yesterday. and I thought there was no way we could win. We'd planned to fight for third, but now we've won, and that's totally unexpected. It is a pity for Edik, but that is racing. It was an intense fight, but the camaraderie, as always, in the truck camp was there, with Versluis congratulating Mardiev. A battle for third turned into battle for victory. Mardiev beating Versluis by half an hour. Shivalov and Loprez rounding out the top four, with Sotnikov in fifth. Although difficult weather conditions, the fourth edition of the Silkway Rally was successful, with full of suspense right to the end. The race director is satisfied. The rally's finished. Today we've summed up all the results. I'm satisfied how the rally went, how it was organised, and most important, that all competitors had a good time. And that's the best appreciation. After a drought in major competitions over the last 20 months, the truck trophies once again head to Chennai and complete a Russian domination of the Silkway Rally for the first time in its history. And what an incredible final stage. The lead that everyone was having issues. Who made the best of a bad day was the victor. And that, of course, was Airat Mardiev in the trucks. Victory in the cars to Boris Gadazin. We'll see you next year.